Hey, everybody, good evening. Hope you all are doing all right on this fine Wednesday evening. Um, I'm pretty excited about us being able to spend this time together this evening. My name is Will Horn, for those of you who do not know. I am the leader of this motley group called the Cosmopolitan Congregation. And this is the inauguration, I guess, of our online gathering, our online Bible study, where we get lifted together. This is a time where we're inspired and affirmed and elevated and expanded through our time of study. And so I'm really excited that you all are here. Um, Again, for those that do not know, this is a part of a relaunch effort. Our local congregation here, the Cosmopolitan Congregation here in Dallas, Texas, we actually planted this ministry back in 2012. So 13 years ago now. Yeah, that's the right math. 13 years ago. And we served here in the city until 2019, and then we took a break. I went back to seminary and fortified myself and learned a few more things. And now we're back, and we are ready to serve not only Dallas Fort Worth, but even beyond this local congregation. So many of you from across the country have reached out and said that this was the kind of ministry that you wanted to be a part of, one that is progressive and one that is inclusive, one that really kind of helps us to deconstruct maybe some of the old ways of thinking and doing and being, old ways of seeing God and seeing church. And so we're very excited about this opportunity to come back and serve. This time that we're spending together online, it's just again really fortifying us in the text, in the scripture, really being able to look at scripture from different angles, from different facets, to look at nuance, to look at context and history, and all of those things that sometimes in more traditional spaces we don't really have an opportunity to do that. Another thing that I think is very important about this space and about Cosmo in general is that it is a space where you can ask the tough questions, where you can be unsure, you can doubt, you can disagree, because here's the truth, and here's the real power, even of what we're going to dig into tonight, understanding our identity. We have to understand that it's okay for us to be unique. It's okay for us to not see things the way the other group sees them, and we have to learn how to stand firm and steady in that. Okay, and so I'm really very excited about that. So tonight. Um, Again, I'm trying to do some stuff with the technical things. I hope I'm getting this all right. We've gone live on a few different platforms. Well, actually, two platforms, but in three different spaces. So you may be watching on YouTube, on the Cosmo Congregation YouTube page, which is a brand new YouTube channel. Uh, if you're watching on Facebook Live, whether it is on the Cosmopolitan Congregation page or whether it is on my personal page, Will Horn, welcome everybody. It's good to see you all. Before we dig into the subject matter tonight, I want to encourage you to do a few things, because again, we're connecting. We're building a family, or we're calling some family back and adding some folks to the family. And so we want to stay connected. And there's ways to do that. First of all, I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want you to go over, if you're not there already, go over to the Cosmo Congregation YouTube channel and subscribe, and click the bell so you get the notifications. Everything concerning Cosmo, whether it is our Get Lifted, we've got some announcements that are going to be coming up. I want you to be connected over there. Whether it is going to be one of our worship services once we start in the spring, I want you to be connected on that YouTube channel. Okay. Also, if you are a Facebook user, I want you to go to that Cosmopolitan Congregation page and follow us there. Again, announcements, all kinds of things are going to be going forth there. And we would just want to see you, just want to know that you're there. Okay. But nonetheless, I want to really dig into our series that we've started already. Some of you may know, some of you actually came out to our Get Lifted local gatherings. And I thank you for that. But I want to be one of the reasons that we are doing this is that I'm being sensitive to the fact that people would send me notes all the time. And even the ones that were able to make it would say it was just really hard for them on a Wednesday night. For those that don't live in Dallas, Fort Worth, or a very large metropolitan area, sometimes travel on the weekday is really kind of hard. And so you all said that it would be easier if we did it online. And then other people who are connected to Cosmo around the country said it as well. And so that's why we're here. Okay. And so we started the identity series in October. It was the intention to go through November anyway. Some things I'm going to recap. We're going to go back over and then just really move forward because I want us all to be together. Again, really in understanding the importance of why we're having this conversation about identity. Okay. So this is a Bible study. Okay. And so for those of you who still have a paper Bible, I actually have a whole bunch of them around here. I don't use them as often as I used to. But if you'd like to pull out a Bible or a journal or a notebook or however it is you can retain information, I want to encourage you to do that because I'm going to give some information that I want you to be able to go back and study. Okay. I want you to be able to go back and really sit with it in your prayer time and in your devotion time to really, really grasp this. Now, I want to say this right up front. There's a reason. There is such an important reason that we are starting out in this conversation, starting out in this endeavor to relaunch by talking about identity. Um, some of you follow me in other ministries, whether it is the podcast that I do, my preached ministry. You're going to hear me talk a lot about us functioning and operating in our divinity. Okay. I really want to talk about what that is. I want to talk about what that means tonight. And I want to say also that I don't want to just give a lecture tonight. I want you all to be active in the chat. I see a lot of you all already. Good evening to everybody. Quadulan and Bishop Fleming. How you doing, my brother? I see you, Brother Herbert. I see you all in there. Thank you all so much for being here. I want you to be active in the chat. I want you asking questions so that this can be interactive. I want you to be able to really pull out of this what it is that you feel like you really need tonight. Okay. And so again, I believe having this conversation about identity is so important. The vision of the Cosmopolitan Congregation is a world fully aware of its divinity. It's a pretty simple vision, not necessarily that easy to get to it, but could you imagine everyone in the world understanding their divine identity? We would be not only understanding their own divine identity, but understanding that their fellow brothers and sisters in humanity are also divine. And so, if we treat ourselves as representations of God, and we treat our brothers and sisters and even our non-binary siblings, however it is that people identify, if we were to see divinity in everyone and everything, our world would look so different. And I'm a believer that we can hold down our little part of the world and make a change in ourselves and in one another. And then hopefully that will affect others. And then those others will affect others, and so on and so on. Divine identity changes everything. Clarity about your divine identity changes everything. And so that's why we're talking about this. Now, I've made some notes because I have to, because I'm a preacher and I will talk too long if I don't. And so we're gonna go really with what I've marked out, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get this teaching in 1 hour. That's always going to be my goal, is that we get it in 1 hour. Okay. And so the first lesson um, that we're going to do in this identity series has to do with the essence of divine identity. Because here's what I believe, that you'll never understand who you are in the divine if you don't understand what the divine is. Okay. I want to give you a foundational scripture passage that we're going to work from tonight. Okay. It's one that if you're a Bible reader, if you've been adjacent to church or any of those kinds of things, you will have heard this text before, but I want to really pull it apart tonight. Okay. It comes from Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 26 and 27. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. It says, "Then God said, let us make human beings in our image, to be like us. They will reign over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals of the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground." Verse 27. "So God created human beings in God's own image. In the image of God, created them, male and female created them." Okay. So again, God says, let's make humans in our image so that they can be like us, so that they can reign over the fish and the birds and the livestock and the wild animals and the small animals. And so God did just what God said and made humanity, human beings, in the image of God, male and female. Now, I want to make some clear points, okay, as we're dealing with this. And as I said, my first point is this: we will never really understand who we are in the divine unless we understand what the divine is. Okay. So I got a question for you, and I want you all to respond to this. Okay. When we think of God or think of the divine, what kind of words come to mind? I want you to put those in the chat. When you think, if I were to say God, what comes to mind? What do you think about? Is it is it is it all powerful? Is it all knowing? Um, is it the Alpha and the Omega? Is it that God is has no beginning and no end? What do you think about when you think about God? And there's a reason I need you to articulate this. Come on, give it to me in the chat. When you think about God, creativity, the creator, absolutely. Universal source. I see you all. I see you. What else do you think about when you think about God? That's such a loaded little 3-letter word, but there's so much in that. Dominic said fear. I want to deal with that because there could be a couple of connotations there. Dominic, what do you mean? Do you mean being afraid of God? Someone says spirit. That's good, Ray. So creativity, universal source, spirit, fear. And when I use that word fear, I use the word reverence because that's really the way that it is translated, honoring or reverencing God. See, I bring this up and I want you to articulate that because whatever words, whatever attributes, these glorious attributes that you give to God, this is about to mess with somebody's theology, but that's what I'm called to do. When you think of all of these glorious attributes and assign them to God, I want you to assign them to yourself. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Pastor Will, what are you saying? You said God is eternal. God has no beginning and God has no end. Does that mean that I have no beginning and I have no end? That's exactly what I'm saying. If Christian says creativity, God is a creator, guess what? You are made in the image and likeness of God. That's what Genesis just told us, right? If God is a creator, then so are you. If God can speak things into existence because you're made in the image of God, so can you. If God can do exceeding abundantly above what you ask or think, if you are made in the divine image, when you tap into that divinity, so can you. I'm making some bold statements right up front, but that's what Get Lifted is all about. I'm wanting you to see yourself for who you really are. I'm wanting you to see yourself the way that God intended. God intends for us to look like God. Anybody who's a parent loves when somebody says, "Oh, that baby looks just like you." Ooh, you can't deny that one. They got your nose, they got your ears, they have your attitude. You can't deny. I am a believer that God stands with God's hands on God's hips and stick God's chest out when we really, really, really begin to see and move and act in the divine. Okay? So I'm saying this up front because I got to shake some things into you. Too many of us have been taught that God is over there and we are over here. We have been taught that God is up there and we are somewhere down here. We've been taught that God is holy and that we are filthy rags. Well, again, I want to say this up front that is inconsistent with what we just read in the text and what most of us say we believe about the text. If we really believe Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, that we are made in the image of God, how can God be holy and then we be wretched or sinful in our nature? Those two things don't go together. And again, I know that we've been taught something different, but again, if you stick with me, progressive pastoral teaching, I'm going to help you to dig some of that up and deconstruct that. Okay? Because again, if we understand the power of divinity, the glory of divinity, the unlimited source that is divinity, and we apply that to ourselves, it changes everything for us. Okay? And what I'm trying to do is preach and teach you into your greatest self, into your divine self. I was in Atlanta this summer. Uh, it wasn't this summer. It was actually just a couple. Well, I guess that was still the summer. A couple months ago, I was in Atlanta, and I was blessed to be honored with induction into the Morehouse Board of Preachers. It was an amazing honor. Uh, but one of the highlights of that trip, one of the highlights of that ceremony, was being in the presence of Edward, excuse me, Dean um, Carter, Edward Carter. I don't know why my mind is slipping away like this. Um, he said something that stuck with me. He says that church ought to be an affirmatorium. It means that when we come into these spaces, we should be affirmed in our identity and affirmed in that divine identity. Okay. And so if you don't like being built up, you might not like me very much. Okay. Let me go ahead and deal with something here. Again, I said in my first point, we'll never really understand who we are in the divine if we don't understand what the divine is. And so we give these attributes, that we just did a moment ago. I want to talk about how God talks about God's self. Okay. Let's go to Exodus chapter 3. Okay. I'm going to read verses 10 through 14. I'm going to try to read it kind of fast. It's a kind of a chunk, but I want to read it fast. Exodus 3 verses 10 through 14. Verse 10 says, "Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh." He's talking about Moses. "You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt." But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to go before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" And God answered, "I will with you. I will be with you. And this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God in this very mountain." But Moses protested. "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' they will ask me, 'What is his name?' And then what should I tell them?" Verse 14, God replied to Moses, "I am that I am. Say this to the people of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel, 'Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations.'" God says that my name is I am. That seems so abstract. That seems so loaded. But God says my name is my essence. My name is my amness. My name, and I want you to understand these things about you as well. You may think your name is Kevin or think your name is Barbara or Deborah, but who you are in your essence is I am. Y'all, please tell me if I'm going too fast. I don't want to go too fast, but I want you to grasp some things that maybe have never been presented to you before. I want you to hear some things that maybe you've never heard in church before. Pastor Will, you're taking me fast. You're saying I'm made in the image of God. You're saying I'm eternal. I'm holy. I'm a part of divine source. You're saying I'm a creator. Now you're saying I am like God. That's exactly what I am saying to you. And when we are able to begin to embrace the bigness of who we are, the unlimited, unfathomable nature of who we are, it helps us to then begin to walk in that. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Jesus even said, "When you have seen me, you have seen my Father. You have seen divine source. You have seen the creator when you see me." And so I want to put that on the inside of you, my brothers and sisters and siblings, because you are made in the image of God, because you are made in the image of the I am. Whenever somebody sees you, they see divinity. Uh-oh. They don't see a sinner. If they got eyes, if they really understand, again, this is why we have to understand our own divinity and we have to understand the divinity of others. It's hard for me to look in the face of God and lie to that person. It's hard to look into the face of the divine and mistreat them or manipulate them or steal something from them. My brother said, Dominique says that when he thinks of God, he thinks of fear or reverence. When you can look into the eyes of someone who came from the same source that you came from, somebody else who's walking in the I am, it changes how you live. And this is what I'm trying to get us to. Again, I said the mission of the Cosmopolitan Congregation is a world that's fully aware of its divinity. See, we think we got to have a lot of rituals and doctrines and rules and list of sins, and we have to have a penal code in the government. But I came to let you know that if you just understood your divinity and you understood the divinity of all of the other 8 million people that make up humanity, this whole thing would change in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. Yes, you are the I am. We're not supposed to be shaking tables over here. This is the wrong platform for that. But I have to say some things that absolutely shape the foundations of how you see yourself. I'm going to go a little bit farther, and I'm going to give you some more scriptures and stuff in a minute. But I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to help you understand how these more progressive and expansive spiritual understandings of the text lift you. And so I'm having a conversation with you out of the text. Too many of us have been told that we are wretched and that we are sinners and that our righteousness is as a filthy rag. We were born in sin and shapen in iniquity. And we hear all of those things because we don't understand how the Bible works. We don't really understand even what Jesus was trying to tell us. We're not even over there talking about Jesus yet. But again, Jesus's whole ministry was to help us to see who we were. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. Jesus knew exactly who he was in the divine. That's why they hung him on the cross. But I'll get to that at another time. Okay. Go to John chapter 8. As a matter of fact, I don't want to read all of that. I want to read just very quickly here. It says in John, we're over in the New Testament now. Before Abraham was, I am. Need you to understand that and the reason the statement is made here, before Abraham is representative of religion. Abraham is representative of old ideas. And we need to understand that God, the I am, and even God, the I am, that dwells in and as you, is greater than or beyond religion. Before Bishop ever had anything to say about you, you were in the image of God. Before Big Mama ever told you you was fast, or before one of the uncles ever said anything to you about whatever, you're not smart, or you just like your daddy, or you got sugar in your tank. All of the things that we hear from people who have not had the capacity or the understanding to see you in the divine image, their words have caused you to forget who you really are. Are y'all hearing me? Put something in the chat and tell me you're following me. Okay. And I know I came out of the gate and I'm hitting it hard, but I'm doing that on purpose. There is some shock value to me telling you something about yourself that maybe you never heard before. I just need somebody to, if you're grabbing this, I need you to type in the chat, I am divine. I am divine. Those words They chipped a little bit of a little bit of you. They chipped it away. Uh, 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 they chipped your understanding of yourself away. And the only way I came up in a time where, y'all got all these little digital things or whatever, but if I wanted to hear a song over again, we used to have these things called cassette tapes. Some of y'all might not even be old enough to know what those are. We had cassette tapes. And on top of the cassette tape, they had these two little plastic things. You would break them off and you could put it in your boom box. And when your song came on the radio, whatever was on that tape, if you hit record, it would record on top of that. And so what I'm trying to do is to re-record your cassette tape. So that the song that you're hearing, the message that you're hearing, erases or writes over those damning and damaging and detracting and depressing things that you've heard about yourself. You're made in the divine image, unlimited source with creative power. You are eternal. You have no beginning and you have no end. You really are pre-mortal, and you will be post-mortal. That means you existed before you were born and you will exist after this physical body dies. Why is that? Because you are made in the divine image. I'm helping myself tonight. I'm reminding myself tonight. Because again, all of those things that we think about God, all of those attributes that we assign to the divine, we've got to get comfortable assigning those things to ourselves. It is not being braggadocious. It is not being boastful. It is not being arrogant or aloof or even psychotic. This is not a departure from reality. This is actually reconnecting to reality. When you know who you are, that is the way that you get to live the abundant life that Jesus was talking about. Okay, let me go a little bit farther. I done got excited, y'all. Forgive me for this. Okay, but God said of God's self, I just am. I am. I'm all the things. And we've got to get to a place where we're comfortable knowing and understanding that and being able to articulate that for ourselves. Divine identity begins with an awareness of I am. What is that? That is the presence of God that is within you. I almost hate saying within you, because it is more than that. It is honestly in you and on you. Come on, prepositions. It's in you and on you because it is the divine living in this realm as you. God expresses God's self. Divinity expresses divinity in this visible plane as you. When you were dispatched and sent into this earth realm, it was like God took a little piece of God's self and dispatched it in you. This again is why Jesus says, when you have seen me, you have seen the Father. The fullness of the divine, when we understand it, the fullness of the divine is expressed in our personhood. So again, the divine identity, you being able to really tap into who you are, is really being able to understand this I am. I want to talk about a word that many of us have heard before. I'm going to try to break it down a little bit. And again, y'all, if you feel like I get too deep or go too fast, raise your hand, say something, uh, ask questions. That's what Bible study is all about. Okay. Because I don't want to run through this and and we miss something. I don't want to run through this and we don't accomplish what we came to accomplish. Okay, and so I want to deal with the word that many of us have heard, but again, break it down. I want to deal with the word Jehovah. Jehovah, Jehovah. Jehovah is the Latinized spelling of Yahweh. And even Yahweh is kind of a Hebrew name that was put together to try to explain God. Actually, the ancient Israelites believed that God's name was so holy that you couldn't even pronounce it. You can't even say God's name. It used to be represented by what's called a tetragrammaton. It is YHWH. You'll see that sometimes, YHWH. Well, they just put some letters in there and ended up calling it Yahweh. Okay, but Jehovah is the Latinized version of that. And again, this understanding of Jehovah means, again, I am that I am, based upon that Exodus passage that we just talked about. This YHWH, this Yahweh, or what we now call Jehovah, means the ever living male and female principle. I know I sound like I just took a bad turn right there, but this I am that I am is the ever living, which again means no beginning and no end, uncreated, indestructible. It is the ever living male and female principle. Now, I could do a whole parenthetical conversation about this whole binary idea of how humans express in the physical body. Because again, when we understand we are made in the divine image, each of us have within us the ever living male and female principle. Just digest that for a moment. If we go back to Genesis chapter 1 and 27, if you read it at the end, it said, male and female created he them. Did you all know that every zygote, every embryo starts out as female? All of us were a girl at one time. That is something in the physical expressing what is true in the superphysical or supernatural. Again, the I am that I am, this Yahweh, this Jehovah, is the ever living male and female principle. Okay? It's all in us. And we've got to be able to be okay with that. Again, society has talked us out of the fullness of who we are. I appreciate that there is male and female principle on the inside of me, that I can move in different ways depending upon what I need to be. I am that I am. I can be nurturing. I can be loving and supportive. But then I can also be a protector and a hunter and a gatherer and a builder. All of those things can reside on the inside of us. It doesn't mean that those who identify or present in a male form have only one set of attributes, or someone who may identify as or present in a female form only has a certain set of attributes. We can have all of those attributes. As a matter of fact, and I need to stay on my notes because I don't want to go over my time, but God shows up. If you read the scripture, God shows up in the text as mother and father. When we talk about El Shaddai, God all powerful, do you know El Shaddai is speaking of a female expression? It is the multi breasted one. Multi breasted, that is an understanding of female nature. The breasts are from which we are fed or nurtured. In the Old Baptist Church, we say all the time, he's a mother to the motherless and a father to the fatherless. When you understand I am, you understand the totality of this expression. And again, it is ever living male and female principle. I'm going to do some teaching. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it here on this platform or if I'm going to do it on my podcast. But we have to have some more conversations about what it means to be non-binary or to be transgender, which means to go across or to transcend gender. Each of us is greater than gender because God is greater than gender. There were some folks that jumped on Yolanda Adams, my favorite female gospel artist, I must say, jumped on her because she made a statement regarding a greater, fuller understanding of who or what God is. And she's gotten to a place now where she understands that God can be he, God can also be she. But the truth is God is greater than both of those things. And so we can't be so bound and indoctrinated by patriarchy that we don't understand that the I am encompasses all understandings and expressions of gender and spirit. All of it is within the I am. And again, when you understand divine identity and you understand that you are made in the image of the divine, then all of that resides on the inside of you as well. And so I'm going to have to do a teaching about how we engage with our transgender siblings. I think in many regards, many of them are a closer expression of the divine than many of us who operate in these binary gender expressions. I'm getting off topic, but I need to throw that in there so that we understand that this whole notion of the divine is so much bigger than we have been allowed to know. Because I want you to understand the only way religion survives is that it got to hold something back from you. Ooh, I feel my teaching help coming. The only way religion survives is they got to hide some truth from you. The only way they keep us coming back to church is to keep us bound in guilt and shame and fear and ignorance so that we can come back next week and they can give us a little bit more. And then we can come back next week and get a little bit more. But see, I believe, again, when I envision this world fully aware of its divinity, then we don't need religion anymore. Oh, preacher, how are you saying that? How can the man of God say that he wants to preach us to the abolition of religion? Because I want to see you free. I want to see you operating in the fullness of your divinity. And when you get to that place, you start realizing, man, I don't really need church the way that I thought I did. I don't need these religious structures. I don't need the doctrine and the dogma and the rules and all of those things. Because the truth is if church was really doing what it was supposed to do, it would teach you into this illuminated place, into this enlightened place. Once you've graduated from high school, you look like a fool if you keep going to class. Once you've got the degree, we would wonder why you would keep going back sitting in the same old classroom if you got it, if you really got it. And so again, this idea of your divinity, This idea of discovering who you really are. I said that slow on purpose. Discovering or uncovering who you really are. When you throw off all of the things that have been heaped upon you by religion or society or peers who don't have the capacity to discern your divinity, when you get all of these things off of you, then you can begin to walk in the fullness of who God created you to be. Okay. I appreciate you all's affirmation. You're following me. Thank you. You're catching. You're picking up what I'm trying to put down. Okay. And I want to say this too. I know that my teaching in this iteration of my ministry, in this particular a place of awareness for me, I know my teaching is not going to be for everybody. But I do know that there are people who know that there is more, and you're looking for more. And the reason that church hasn't worked for you is because you've graduated beyond that in many regards, or the churches that you have been to. Okay. And so, okay, I'm not an elementary school teacher. Okay. It is my goal to teach us in a way that stretches us and that challenges us. That's what education does. Okay. Let me try to get back to what I'm trying to tell you. Man, time goes by so fast. This is how you end up in a whole semester class, because it's just so much. I've only scratched the surface. Okay. So when we understand again this whole idea of Jehovah being the ever living male and female principle, and we understand that we are made in the likeness and in the image of that, again, it causes us to walk differently. In some places, that YHWH, which then gets translated to Yahweh, which then gets translated to Jehovah, in a lot of places in the biblical text, particularly in the Hebrew Bible, or what we call the Old Testament, that word will be translated as Lord, Lord, with a capital L, Lord. Well, I need to help us to understand that translating that as Lord is a mistranslation. Okay, that's not what Adonai or Yahweh or Jehovah. It is not Lord. Let me tell you why. Okay, the I am is the internal presence. It is the Spirit of God, the essence of God, the nature and the power and the authority of God that dwells internally. Okay? When we use the word Lord, we have to understand that a Lord is an external master. Okay? So I am is internal, the indwelling of God's presence and God's spirit. When we say Lord, we are talking about something that is external. Okay. So, for instance, we talk about, let's say, a plantation. I almost don't know if I want to use that, but maybe you get the visual. You have overlords, or you have plantation owners, or slave masters. And what they do is they cause you to move based upon external stimuli, sometimes violence, sometimes threats, sometimes fear. All of those things are external influences that animate you. That's what a lord does. A lord works from the outside. Well, the I am does the exact opposite. Ooh, I'm feeling real good right here. See, the only way to live authentically is to move from what's on the inside. And too many of us have lived our lives based by the lording over us. Bishop, big mom, deacon, then church, religion as a whole, from the outside telling us what to do. But that is antithetical to how we have been made up. We are to move based upon this internal indwelling of the I am. And so life should be from the inside out, not from the outside in. Are you catching me? Y'all got to get this part. You got to catch this part. Because again, church, of course, needs you to fear the Lord. Because that's how the church moves you or manipulates you or oppresses you. This idea of Lord. Think about it in the church. How the old deacons, when they would go down for devotion, how they would call God master. That so much slave terminology is used in church. I don't belong to myself. I belong to God. That's slave vernacular. That's slave terminology. I give myself away so you can use me. Use. That's slave terminology. That is saying that you no longer have agency, that you are no longer connected to the I am that animates you from the inside out. And we got to be careful because, again, our language, our own words, many times will pin us up and jail us and box us up. Yahweh, Adonai, the ever living male and female principle that is eternal, that lives on the inside of us and animates us, is not looking to lord over us. The I am is looking to animate us and move us and empower us. When we go back to the conversation in Exodus chapter 3 that we just dealt with, where God is having this conversation with Moses, Moses asked the question, well, who is sending me to speak to Pharaoh? Who's sending me or animating me to go do this hard thing? What authority do I have when the children of Israel ask me, by what authority do you do this? It's not something from the outside. Oh, come on. This is what is indwelling on the inside. Your authority comes from the inside. And so when we talk about this divine identity, when we talk about the essence of who we really are and how we move in the world, whether it is to go to Pharaoh and to declare that you got to let my people go. What is your assignment? Who is the authority that you have to go speak to and demand liberation for yourself or your family or your people? That power doesn't come from the outside of you, beloved. Mm-mm. That is the I am. When you tap into the I am and you allow the I am to work in you and as you have all the authority you need. You have all of the resources you need. You have the brute strength to do what you need because it's working on the inside of you. And I want to say this again. I want to, and again, I didn't get through all of my notes tonight. Again, that's why I have to teach in series. Okay. So I'm gonna drop this, but you got to come back because we got to keep digging. We got a whole lot more that we got to dig into. See, Moses could do what Moses was called to do because Moses was made aware that it was the I am. And what I'm trying to do tonight is make you aware of the I am. Once that clicks on, it changes everything. Some people going to be mad at you. They're going to ask who they think they are. I am. Who gave you the authority to say this or that, or to demand X or Y or Z or A or B or C? I am. It's not arrogance. It's just clarity about your identity. You know, it's 8:30. I need to stop. Okay. This just scratching the surface. Okay. I hope y'all understand where I'm going with this. Because again, I need you to know who you are. And what else I need is I need you all to really connect to this word and this mission. That's why we are relaunching and reconstituting Cosmo, because this is the kind of word that people need to hear. No, I'm not the only one teaching this. There are a lot of folks who have come to a place of expanded consciousness, expanded awareness, who've been able to really tap into divine identity. It's around, okay? But I also know that for many of you, you hadn't heard this till it came out of my mouth. And this is because I'm being animated by the I am. I've been given authority, creative ability. I can speak life into you by the grace of God. And so, for those of you who feel compelled, I want you to connect with Cosmo. You don't have to live here in Dallas, Fort Worth. You can live all over the country, all over the world. We are, of course, establishing a local congregation, but we're also establishing an e-congregation. Okay. And so, if you would, I want you to go over to our website, to cosmocongregation.org. Read all about us. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there that you can really learn about us, and you can send us a message and connect and say, Pastor Will, I'm in. For those of you who have already made a commitment to be a part of this, I want to ask that you would begin to support financially. There's going to be some official information that's going to go out where I'm going to invite you all to really begin to support weekly or monthly. It is our goal to begin worshiping on a regular basis in the spring, but it takes money to do that. I know we are mature people who understand that. And so I don't do gimmicks or beg or do all of those kinds of things. I'm just going to ask you to pray and consider how it is that you would support financially. You can do that by going to the website. You can also do that. We can do it electronically by going to Cash App. I'm going to put the little thing here. You can go to $Cosmo Congregation and send your gifts. That's going to help us to really speed up this process and frankly take a lot of the stress off of me. Okay. Again, we build these communities together. I happen to be in the position of a teacher or spiritual guide. Again, but this is our community and we are responsible for the building of it. Because again, when we can really, really teach people who they are in the divine, and we can work towards fulfilling our mission of a world fully aware of its divinity, it changes everything, y'all. It's not me, it's us. We can change everything. And so I want you, again, go to the website and give. It's right in the middle of the page. Or you can go to Cash App and give. And these monies are going to be set aside for us to get in the building, do the sound system, whatever the things are that we need to do. Y'all been down this road before. You know how this works. And so I'm going to thank you in advance for that support. But I want to say to you all, every Wednesday, we're going to be right here, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. At some point, we will transition away from Facebook. I'm not going to, do it all of a sudden, but I want you all to go over to the Cosmo Congregation YouTube channel and begin to subscribe right now. Okay. Well, right after we get off. And I also want you to connect on the Cosmopolitan Congregation Facebook page so that you can stay abreast of the things that are going on with Cosmo. Okay. I want you again to know that I love you very much. I want you all who follow the Shake the Table podcast that we will have an episode that'll be recording tomorrow. I'll be starting a series on what the Bible does and does not say about homosexuality, or human sexuality is probably a better way of putting that, because a lot of you all have to go home to your families for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And sometimes those conversations come up. And so I want to be able to give you language and verbiage and understanding. So be able to join us on Shake the Table. And that'll be tomorrow at 7:30. But again, For Get Lifted, thank you all for joining. We'll be right back here on next Wednesday at 7:30 Central Time to continue this conversation about divine identity. Okay? I hope you all have a wonderful night. Take it easy.